Welcome to This Week in Baseball Player Profiles as we continue Women in Sports Month with Brittany Weber from WSU. How you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me, Connor.
Hey, I want to thank you for coming in today. Ask you a few questions. Get some good feedback from you here.
Sounds good.
When you played softball growing up, tell us about your high school experience.
I was born and raised in Arizona, very West Coast style. We played year-round, traveled to California quite a bit, played on the Hot Shots and the Saints, which I think they're still going pretty strong. And I just had fun. I mean, it's so funny. It's such a different world right now where my shoes are at versus where I was as a kid. And I just had a blast growing up.
Right.
I just loved playing. I just brought my glove everywhere with me, and it was very competitive. We played a lot of strong teams, lots of talent, and we had a blast.
How is being out of Arizona compared to softball, like high school level, to Wichita high school level?
It's different.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
Do they play all year round there?
year-round, yes. I would say there's, like a month or two break here or there, but really play year-round. But you can't play club ball when you do high school.
Right.
So other than that, but the high schools, very competitive. I remember playing all of the girls I played against in high school. So to make varsity was very, very big deal.
Right.
We had some really salty, good high school teams.
I bet. Okay, so you came on to WSU.
Yeah.
Tell us about your experience at WSU.
Okay. So being in Arizona, I had never heard of Wichita State, and Coach Walton, who's current head coach at Florida, he called me up one day and was like, "Hey, you wanna come on a visit?" And I was like, "What? Where is this at?" He's like, "You could come like Tuesday through Thursday," and I was like, "But I have school." And he was like, "Yeah, but you can miss school." And I was like, "What? Yeah, I'll come." So I went down there and absolutely fell in love. It was the exact thing that I knew I needed as just a person, right? Like I knew 6 hours a day I was going to spend time with the best coach in the country and have really great facilities and a really growing good program. So that's why I ended up coming to Wichita State, and it was a total God thing, and I absolutely, one of the best decisions of my life. It was fun, just played with a lot of good players, really good coaching staffs. Coach Walton left, and I ended up having multiple coaches after that, Coach Pranchero being the head coach. And so anyway, it was a lot of movement coach-wise, but I had a lot of experience with different coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those coaches are now still with Division I colleges, and I've been in contact with them, and it was a lot of fun. So I learned a lot.
Well, I can tell you this: in your 4 years that you were there, your first team All Valley in 05, you're tied for second in conference with doubles, six in hits in the conference, 55. You're on the All Tournament team. You led your team in hitting pretty much every single year. 07, your first team All Valley. You led the team in hitting in 348. I mean, the numbers are just outstanding. You're third all-time in runs, second in slugging, fourth in average, fifth in all runs. You're fourth in bases. I mean, your numbers are just astounding. They're very, very impressive. I want you to know that, and that's a high level to play at too. So
yeah, it was. I was not usually like that stat person until my mom placed a bet with my husband and myself. For each home run you hit, I'll give you a gift card. And it worked. So him and I would like battle it out each year, and
Right.
who got what gift cards or who hit how many. So bringing that competition with him, I think honestly helped with some of those stats. And I just naturally loved playing. So
Right.
I didn't know most of those records until I was forced to look them up for 316 stuff. But it was fun. I would look at my stats actually honestly after each game, and then I would see where I was at and how could I get better, how could I increase it. So that stuff motivated me a bit. I didn't know about some of that stuff.
Well, it's very, very impressive. Do you have a game that you most remember that just stands out in your mind?
So honestly, Coach Walton had seen a lot more potential in myself than I noticed for myself. Not saying that I was like not confident or anything, but he just knew things. And so he threw me in to pitch against Nebraska, and there was a left-handed slapper. Like, why would I remember these random things? I can't even remember what I had for breakfast. But there was a left-handed slapper, and I just remember reading about her, and she was so stinking good, and she got on all the time. And I remember pitching against her, and I struck her out 2 of the 3 times with my curveball, and it was like so silly, right? But that's when I thought about that, I'm like, what did I remember? I remembered that game, and it was like the coolest feeling ever to strike her out. I was like, yeah.
Was that your first strikeout of your career?
No, it wasn't my first
Okay.
strikeout, but it was my freshman year, and it was a game. They were very highly ranked, and honestly, we lost 2-1.
Right.
But I left that game like, yes, I can do this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's awesome.
I remember my first home run in Nebraska, and I almost took Coach Walton's head off and hit it foul, and then he looked at me like, oh, you can do this, and then I hit it over, and that was fun. But
Yeah.
anyway, just more moments.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It makes you feel good because you can remember things like that.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
I remember the bad games.
Yeah.
I had a head coach, or the third base coach, figured out when I was throwing my changeup, and I had no idea how I figured it out. He'd call it mid-pitch, and girls would take it yard. I remember that game. I don't know how many home runs right off me. I'm like, why are we still calling the changeup?
Yeah, I hear you. So growing up, did you have anybody that was your role model?
Jenny Finch.
There you go.
So being in Arizona, she was the pitcher at U of A at that time, and I went to her pitching camps, and she'd roll in with these big winter jackets, 7'5", and I was just this little, I think I was like 10 or 12, just thought, wow, she's so cool. But yeah, I always looked up to her.
She still is cool, by the way.
She is still cool, right?
Yes.
I know, she's doing things.
So the coolest thing I think about sports nowadays is we are breaking into that generation where women are getting more involved in men's stuff. So there are some names like Kim Niji, who's the GM for the Marlins, Ashlyn Nakin of the Giants, Rachel Folan, Rachel Volker for the Cubs. These are some of the ladies. Sarah Fuller with Vanderbilt, who got to play football. Sarah Thomas was the first referee in Super Bowl. What do you think of those names when I bring those names up to you?
I think it's great. We've got more women playing in sports that we're not necessarily assuming that they would play, and they're just making a mark, and they're doing things, and I think it's great. For me, it's if you're the right person for that position, if you're proving yourself and you are the right fit for that job or whatever it is in life, it doesn't matter to me if you're a man or a woman.
Right.
So if you fit that mold, power to you. That's
Right.
awesome.
I agree.
So I think it's great.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% because I do think we'll see more coming because I've always felt, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because my wife played softball.
Okay.
For guys, we always want to go to the major leagues. Every guy has that aspiration, but there's nothing like that for a woman. So when you get done with college softball, it is your career, what you're going to do.
Right.
And I think women look at that more than from a guy's perspective in baseball. Would you agree with me on that? Or?
Yeah, the opportunities are limited afterwards. I never personally had that desire to continue after college. There are opportunities,
Right.
just not to the extent of MLB and NFL and all of that.
I mean, I guess you could play on Team USA if you can make that.
That's right.
So, do you have any advice that you can give to parents?
Man, I'm right there in that stage with the little ones, and just encouragement. I'm encouraging these parents to keep bringing those kids to practice, keep working with them at home, and I just think it's great all the effort that's being put in, because it pays off huge. Teaching them that independence part of how to handle failure and how to grow through it, right? As little as having a conversation with the coach and just encouraging them to do those tough things that as parents just want to do for them.
Right.
But yeah, just parents are awesome. They're doing great. So just that's where I'm at with that.
Okay, I understand. Younger players, and I mean more freshmen, sophomores, kids heading into high school, advice for those.
Oh, it's a fun stage. It's a really fun stage because you're really starting to grow as an athlete and kind of figure out your skill set and the possibilities of college, and it gets more real, right? Things that I like to talk with our players about is the more questions you can have answered in high school, and the faster you do that, the easier the direction is of your path afterwards. You know,
Right.
if you want to play college ball, yes or no? Great. But that's just one question. That opens up a whole nother door, right? So the more things you can figure out at that age, the easier it is. And asking people who have been through those same situations to kind of help guide you, I think, is huge. I can't talk enough about academics and making sure your grades are up. You know, if that's something you want to pursue, softball in college, that's huge. But just life in general,
Right.
you know, keep hustling at the sport, but really hustle in the books too. Get the academics, you know, just as good.
That's awesome. That's really spot on, to be honest with you. Class 21 and 22, with COVID going on, I know on the baseball side we have issues, and I can only assume on the softball side it's probably just as bad, if not worse, because the numbers are less that they carry on a team.
Right.
What advice could you give to those young ladies?
Be open to the opportunities. I think if we're really narrow on, no, I'm going to go to this school or this school, it may not work out this year or next year. So just be open